Yes, I am requesting in relation to the superintendent evaluation process that we move 14.3, 11.6 out of the consent work session agendas and roll them into a new business item 10.5, approve superintendent evaluation process and timeline.
Right, and then I'd like to move the weight room supervisor piece of the approval of the baseball coaches off of that into the work session. So I'm splitting that
That
memo.
could be at 14.3 since you're removing me off the line there.
Okay. So 14.3 is weight room supervisor. Remove that. 10.5 approve
Yeah.
superintendent. 10.5 approve.
Approve and set timeline superintendent evaluation.
Okay. Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Of course, so approval of minutes.
I approve the minutes from, I'm looking for the date here, January 23rd, as presented.
No, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Correspondence?
I have no, Madam Chair.
Public comment? Reports? Mrs. Milnes, financial report.
All right,
Milnes.
so I'm reporting through December of 2016. We haven't reported from November to December, but essentially, we pulled in $771,000 in December, 2.4 million in November. Of course, that's largely contributed to property taxes, and we did get some federal money. Common School Fund came in also in December. Excuse me, that's federal. I apologize. We should have some more NyQuil on to staff here today. Federal funds of about 15,000 came in. That 12,000 of that is from Title I-A federal funds that came in December, which was a little downfall from 14-15 school year. We had 2 years to collect on that. Didn't realize I had the money, so went ahead and drew down for the expenditures that we did have for 14-15 at that time frame. We're probably going to expect 15-16 to come in also to wrap that up, and then again we have 16-17 federal Title I-A funds that this kind of will kick to us federally. Moving on. Your next section should be expenditures. Pretty spot on with the payroll. Lower in November, and about the same in December. And December we had accounts payable, which is normal accounts that we pay, down to about 70,000. So, with that brings the ending fund balance. We're gonna probably be about 114,000 below what I've anticipated for the year end. So all of my administrators are reining in, so we can kind of make that flush instead of being negative 114,000. Right now, at the end of December, we had 3.2 million sitting in the bank. And so we're just watching the funds at this point, reining in. So we'll see what January projects. We'll have a better feel 6 months in. We'll have a better feel how much further we need to rein in.
I'll dovetail on that. The current status of the Oregon state budget right now is, I told you in a meeting a while back that the governor proposed $8.06 billion in her budget towards education. the state legislature, you know, they've been sworn in and they're ready to go. They kind of have a differing opinion of 7.7 billion. So I'm not sure they're slugging it out up there in Salem. I'm not sure where it's gonna come in as far as what the end result is going to be as far as our bottom line for budget.
And while that is still the case, I did get an email late this afternoon. It looks like to me they're trying to project out at 7.8, so right now, we're probably gonna start projecting at 7.8 for next year, with a 49-51 split over the 2 years. So it's not as good as the 8 billion. So that's where we are right now. Can't predict it till we get something in writing.
What was it last time?
7.4.
Okay, any questions for Jen?
Keep in mind, it might be good, you know, that budget started at 6.9. And we're up to 7.4, so hopefully there'll be some magic from madness and we'll be okay.
Old business?
Let's see. No old business, Madam Chair.
Okay, new business, approve inter-district transfer.
The student moved in from Plush School District, and per policy, whenever we have in these districts in Lake County, you know, Plush is its own school district. And so, you know, this young man, sixth grader, siblings are in high school, it just got to a point of making more sense to put him in school in here as well. Now, to follow process, we're a little bit behind the process. We have to have Plush School District release him, which they have. They came together last week and they released him. So, you know, the ADM, you know, will not go to, like, with their two older students in high school, the ADM is paid to Plush for them and then it comes to us. In this case, with this young man being, you know, not a high school student from Warner Valley, the ADM comes directly to us. So, I, recommend that you approve his admission to Lake County School District number 7.
Have a motion?
I move that you approve the inter-district transfer.
I'll second.
Any questions, discussion? Pete, I'm sure you wanna.
I'll keep my motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm giving him a hard time because he didn't answer his work session after we moved it tonight. So that's why we're trying to get through.
Cookie?
10.2, approve the tuition rate.
So upon a completion of our 2015-16 audited financial statements, we go through and realign the rate that we need to charge the other school districts. So I have MODOC Joint Unified and I also have Plush, with quite a few students. We were at $55 per student per day. We are actually factored in, upon the audited financial statements from 2016 at $59.94. That's an average across Union, with the elementary school, daily, middle school, and high school. I just took an average, charging a flat rate, it's way easier than trying to decipher which kid belongs where. So, we've been doing this for the last couple of years on a flat rate, and it seems to work out well between all 3 districts.
What's the effective date of this?
It will be effective, at the beginning of the school year, so I'll go back and rebill.
But we don't have the information to do it then? We have to wait for the audit to tell
I
us
have
where
to
we're at.
wait for
and
my
then-
audited financial figures in order to come up with, a daily rate.
So we July 1st, effective July 1st, or will it be,
Well,
it's fiscal year?
right, it'll be September, start of school.
When we have the kid, okay. So I asked you questions before I had a motion, but, did anybody else have a question? Motion?
I move that we approve the tuition rate as presented.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Thanks, Janet. Approve OEA wellness grant.
Okay, so, we got the new grant for the new year. Brandy's gonna help me out with this just a little bit, but the grant award agreement is for 13,130. according to the contract, and upon discussion, with Brandy, we had a difference in numbers as far as, you know, we pay back at the end of the year and then we get the remainder. We get a new amount for the new year. And so they were asking me for $6,800 to pay back, and somewhere along the line, we have an extra $794 in there that should not be in there. And that's just a shift. So it actually, we'll end up writing a check for $6,051. So that changes the grant amount to $12,336. So what I would like to do is go ahead and do it as an amended amount. Brandy and I discussed it, we agree, and do it as an amended amount, so we can cut the check and re-sign the agreement for $12,336. And add in, Brandy, anything that I've missed.
No, that will just be the end of our grant funds.
I was thinking we were out in,
So originally, we were gonna, be out. We chose, after meeting with the board and having some discussion, to not spend some grant funds, to extend, you know, the amount that we can use. So if we don't use it, we pay it back, they give it back, if that makes sense. We don't use it within, so our budget was 15,500, we didn't use $6,051. So that comes into this next year. So January of 2017 to December 2017. So that's what our wellness budget will be for the last, is the 12,000 for our last year of the grant.
I guess I understood when you were here last that it was expiring this year.
It will expire.
2017.
Right,
Mhm.
It will,
They run from January to December
yeah.
as a calendar year.
yeah.
So I guess
They're
it
not
would
on a
be
fiscal year.
17, 19.
And that's where
Yeah.
that's the confusion, is we're on a fiscal
Yeah,
year.
if they like to, it's a grant, it's a school fund, but it throws a monkey wrench in the budget
Mhm.
process. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Have a motion?
I move that we approve the OEA wellness grant amendment as presented.
Do you need an amount in there, do you have an amount?
What's that?
Do you need an amount in the motion?
No, I think as amended is fine.
Okay. All in favor?
Right.
Motion carries. Okay. Set and approved date for work session.
I'll tell you, we didn't have a hard time getting work sessions together. You know, I think we need to follow the example of my two predecessors, Mr. Gallagher and Mrs. Graham, and set a separate night, you know, board nights for a work session, so we can really roll up our sleeves and get into a lot of these things we've, you know, stacked up here. Like my superintendent advisory committee, PE minutes issue, the KCC report, you asked me to go out and chase some things down on that. The reader board report, we have another brand new round of OSBA policies already. And then the other thing that you asked me to get out and chase down is safety of our facilities, like the second story windows and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like, you know, we just really and truly need to get away from one of our regular board meeting nights, set a separate night, bring in some food, and really have a good dialogue. So,
Well, we did have one, but it got hijacked.
yes,
Is
it
the-
did.
yeah.
That's my point exactly.
Yeah. So,
So,
cause Monday nights work best.
we can do a non-board meeting night work session, like a first or a third Monday. So, right now we're second and fourth, so.
Yeah. I don't know, what do you guys think? I don't have my calendar, so I forgot it.
Cat's right here, ready to go.
What's that?
Any Monday in July would be good.
Come on now, Mr. Fraser. The work is not done yet.
Are we trying to squeeze it in the rest of this remaining month, or are we looking
Well,
at
here
March?
we go, Annie. President's Day is next week, that's a holiday.
Right.
And the 27th is our
No,
next
I
meeting.
guess it's a bust. We're looking at March.
I think you're right, March is busted.
And we got spring break.
So probably,
early
you know,
March.
here we go. I probably recommend March 6th. That's the first Monday in March.
We just have one meeting in March then?
Yes, we do,
Technical
because spring
board meeting.
vacation torpedoes the 20th in March.
I can
That would be a good month, then we'd still only have 2 meetings that month, it'd just be back.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
works March 6th. Board, how's that sound?
What time?
I'd say 6 o'clock.
Less than.
You out? A 6 o'clock sound.
So if there was something really good to eat.
I'll bring you a big, I'll bring you a great big old pizza, how's that sound?
How does the
I
rest of
promised
March
pizza
look?
tonight,
Is
but
it
of course
not?
that didn't work
Well,
out.
I can do the 20th and the 13th, well, 13th of the meeting.
You get the 20th, what about you guys?
You know, it's pretty good.
No, it's real late.
Spring break starts, so that's.
Spring break starts at 7.
It'd be good to have all of us here.
Go do the 20th?
How about you, Barry, does that work?
Yeah.
That was convincing, right?
That was really
I'd have to look at my other calendar. This phone says everything in it.
Okay.
His calendar's clear.
I had March 6th down. That's all right.
I think you better take it off, because it sounds like we're doing the 20th. Are we doing the 20th?
Yeah.
Where are we going, Don?
I'll put it in there.
Okay.
No?
Candy, will you send an email tomorrow to
Okay.
remind us, please? Remind me, I'm writing it down, but that, okay. 10.5, approve and set timeline for superintendent evaluation.
Yeah, after much learning and setting this up and everything, I told the board a while ago, I've never had to set up my own evaluation, but, you know, it's been a learning experience, and here we go. I provided you a list of dates following the process of the OSBA superintendent evaluation handbook here. And you can evaluate me on 3 criteria. You know, step 1 is what you evaluated me on last year. It has the 9 areas of criteria, which include, hold on, bear with me here. Visionary leadership, policy and governance, communications and community relations, effective management, curriculum planning and development, instructional leadership, resource management, ethical leadership, labor relations. I think it's a very comprehensive tool, and that's what you used before. The other 2, as I stated to some of you earlier this evening, part 2 of the OSBA thing, it says you can choose between the 3 which one you want to use as your instrument. Part 2 is based strictly on goals, and as you know, we're still developing goals through my superintendent advisory committee meeting. So I would recommend not going that route. Number 3 is called Evaluation 360, and that's basically surveying the community. That's gonna take a little bit longer. That's probably gonna, by the time we get the names and conduct the survey and everything else, it's gonna stretch it out pretty far. So basically, what I'm asking you tonight is, you know, there's the timeline in conjunction with board meetings, and my recommendation is through a motion is to accept the superintendent evaluation procedure with part 1 of the OSBA scoring rubric as the model.
So the February 27th, you have from 5:30 to 6:30, but I think we have a time conflict there, right?
We're gonna have the other executive session from 6:30 to 7, since there's one person.
Oh, so 6:30.
Yeah, I'm gonna reschedule that, so. Peace.
Well, why don't we, I mean,
It seems like a lot to cram in.
the February 22nd deadline is to gather the,
That's for me to give you my self-reflection
okay.
and any goals, you know, that.
You do have your goals.
I'm using the rubric, and what I'm doing, I go through the rubric and submit. As far as goals, my goals are tied to the superintendent advisory committee.
But you had some, we had a list before,
Well, I could follow back on last year and submit those again, or whatever, so
I mean, as a guideline
I can do that.
to help, but, I'm thinking we all do our own copy after we get that from you, and
Which you have now.
since Annie, and then we can revisit at our next date.
And I built in, if you need 2 executive sessions to really do the rubric and really have a meaningful discussion and everything, I built that in just in case. Perhaps we can wrap my evaluation up on March 13th, however, I did build an additional date for further discussion and everything else to give you that latitude.
think last year it was like 2 hours just to compile the numbers
Yeah,
together. and have
that's
that.
why I gave you some latitude for another meeting to really, comments and everything else to be thorough.
Which one is that, Patty? The extended?
Well, initially, the 13th, I had you wrapping it up with me and doing your deliberation with me in a meeting that night. However, if you feel like on the 27th, you can't quite get it all done, you extend it in, here we go, follow me. You're gonna extend it into the 13th for another round of executive session. You're gonna finish it up, and then we can move me to April 9th for the final go around.
I would say we should just go with that plan initially. I mean,
Okay,
a half hour to
so-
compile numbers.
Yeah, so I built that in as kind of a safeguard, so.
I would just go with it.
So I would throw out a suggestion, what if we bump this back and get your information, and we can kinda go through it individually. And now that since we've added the 20th, and everything else we got going on the 27th,
And not just
We
have
push
2
them all
hours on the
back.
13th and just
the
do it.
superintendent, whatever, the 13th of March, and then the 20th to finish it up and present it.
Which one?
Yeah, I'd prefer nothing for your evaluation on the 27th.
Okay.
That's not gonna, we're not gonna
That'd
have
be
time
fine.
to,
So when you put this into a motion, amend it to include final evaluation of March 20th, as you could, and then I'll type it up.
okay?
And I think you can, February 22nd, I don't know if that works for you, or of your self-evaluation, I'm fine with it even being another
Yeah.
Are you
week
sure?
or whatever.
End of February, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we won't be.
How about I just move it up one week to the 29th?
Works for me.
We won't be meeting till the 13th.
Oh, sorry, I got March here.
There's no 20. Not this year, I don't think.
It was last year.
We're not in last year.
Here we go. That'll be March 1.
Okay, so what do you need the motion to say?
We're gonna amend the time that I submit myself reflection to you to March 1st, 2017.
Okay,
And we're going to change the final date of April 9th, 2017 to March 20th, 2017. So you put it forward, you can say approve the superintendent's evaluation procedure as amended, and we will make sure we get those amendments through my dependable executive assistant back here, so.
we're removing February 27th from the,
Yeah,
right, okay. So March 13th and March 20th stay in. You'll have your
self-reflection.
to us by the
Yeah.
1st.
Okay.
Okay,
I have
come on, you're the most experienced one here, you should be able to.
Move to accept
You have some
evaluation
for last time.
procedures using OSBA format part 1 with amended changes to the schedule. If you need some motion help.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, board.
Sandy, you know you're gonna have to like send that out and tell us what we just did. Okay, consent agenda.
I would, Madam Chair, I apologize for not getting this in when we did our agenda approval and everything. There's one I'd like to pull out and draw personal reference to and praise and congratulations. And that is 11.5.
Okay, so.
Mrs. Nash, Debbie Nash, has submitted her retirement
Hmm.
after 30-plus years of teaching in this district. She has just been an outstanding teacher. She started her career in this district as a Title I teacher, then in first grade. She's been one of our real movers and shakers down at Fremont Hay all the years I was down there. She was one of the main proponents and drivers of the RTI program, and I wish Mrs. Nash the absolute best in retirement and congratulate her on a job well done.
that on 10.6, new business? Because we have to approve it, don't we?
Well, we pulled this out of consent agenda before without approving it.
Well, no, but we have to approve the retirement.
Okay. In consent.
Oh,
But
I
he
see, you
talks
just wanted to
about
talk
it, right?
about it.
Yeah, I just want to make.
You want to acknowledge.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You'll let us know if they'll do something at the end of the year.
Certainly will.
Okay. With those, consent agenda.
Do I need to say, was there anything amended? I don't have notes, and I'll do it.
Yeah, we can just approve the consent agenda, we moved out what we needed to.
Okay. I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
So.
All in favor?
Aye.
With our thanks to Mrs. Lynch. Thank you for pulling that out. Okay, announcements.
I have none.
Next board meeting agenda item.
I have a lot. We have the next executive session. Mr. Nash, Superintendent Nash, PSD, he is going to come in and present the local service plan. Ms. Counts will bring in the kindergarten assessment report. I will have a legislative update report. Mrs. Grindle from ADA is going to bring a report in regard to our science night. 6th grade field trip will have a report, and at that time, a part of our annual agenda is presenting you the certified staff renewals.
Anything you guys wanna add?
We'll be here.
Okay. No?
Good.
No. And with that, we'll adjourn to work session.
There's no reports?
Not tonight.
Okay.
We had a financial report, but
But though, because of the meeting, with all the rest of the reports off till next time, so.
Okay.
Things are going well.
is there anything you wanted to know?
Nope. Just
Okay,
sure everybody.
My new one.
you wonder why they were here?
We're supportive.
Probably for 14.
Graduation discussions.
Mr. Hamilton, I'll introduce him, rolled up his sleeves and did a lot of, thorough surveys and everything else on this. Interesting results, so I'm done talking, your turn.
Yeah, after our first conversation, we went back and passed some surveys out, and I think that we got to the majority of the kids. I know we didn't get to every single one, there's kids not in the classes that we talked to, and we had an announcement to come pick those up. So, but all of them we got back were unanimous in support of the switch. We talked to the photographers involved, they were very supportive of it. We haven't received anything but positive feedback on that switch, and we kind of were up against the time frame with Jostens and stuff, so after looking at that stuff, we made the switch to 11 a.m. for graduation this year. So, a lot of thanks actually for the people I think seem to be really receptive to it, and I'm looking forward to that change one more time afterwards. So, I apologize if there was some. I was under the impression we talked about it last time and we'd go do it, get the info, and then we're kind of up against that time frame. So I apologize if there was some confusion that we were going to come back and have a discussion again before we actually set that time. So there was a little bit of a time crunch though. So
by and large, everybody was pretty happy with it and
Yeah.
praised the decision and everything else.
Okay.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Calendar.
Well, we just decided to go ahead and get the discussion off the ground, and I appreciate Mr. Hamilton, he kind of said, what's going off the calendars, and I said, well, you want to go ahead and play with it? He did. He came up with 3 choices tonight, and I'm going to give you credit for it, I'll let you go ahead and talk about them.
okay, so if you're looking at the handout, you guys have draft number 1. It says on the bottom. If you looked at these at all, you'll see that draft 1 is a little drastic and a little different what many of us have seen before. Over the last year, last year, one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we got on the calendar was people upset about a short Christmas. Okay, so then we went to the full Christmas this year, and then the absolute 100% biggest complaint about the calendar this year is that we're getting out so late. And so in an effort to kind of combat that and see what we can put together, we have this interesting one that starts teacher in-service August 14th, a full 2 weeks before normal. And school would start August 21st. And we'd go to school for 7 days, and then take the 30th of August through the 5th of September off for fair, take that week off, completely be out of school for the fair week, and then come back on the 6th. It gets rid of that Tuesday day that is some people still have some issues with, and we start on that Wednesday after fair for the continuation of the year. It moves everything up, obviously. It moves conferences up to the 1st of November for the first set of conferences. If you go to December there, in order to get the number of days and hours we need, we would go a half a day on that 20th of December. And it'd be a half day for students. Staff would be a full day, because then after the students went home, we'd have our state assessment training. And then the next set of conferences would be right up against spring break. So you'd have the conferences, and then your conference makeup day would be Friday right into spring break. And then puts us out, kids' last day the 31st, teachers' last day the 1st. So obviously the draw to that one is to really get out early. But it's drastic, it's a lot different. And
But it's
Well,
consistent
and
with
you're
some
gonna-
other schools.
It is,
You
it is.
researched some-
You're
It
gonna
is.
back up to June 16th as your release date, and then you're gonna start that middle August. So
Exactly,
you have
that first-
2 months for summer vacation then.
that first year, obviously, would be a little bit shorter. If it's something that you guys decide you want to go with and we stayed to that, that'd be a 1 year, that'd be a temporary issue, obviously. So, that's the first one. And if you notice on that one, I did not put a graduation day on that one. I think that that would be a discussion if that's the direction you guys want to go, where we would graduate. I know some schools on the east side graduate on the 20th, like that Memorial Day weekend, actually. I know NISA does, right? Or we could graduate on that Saturday the 2nd. So there's some options there.
So, with draft one, you could be graduated out of school and still be in playoffs in baseball and softball.
Yes, yeah. Which, if you go deep enough, just about any calendar almost, other than us going late, that happens. But yeah, you definitely could. Mm-hmm.
That's happened before.
Yeah, it has. It's not real uncommon. If you go deep, it's not real
Which
uncommon.
schools was this aligned with, Justin? You told me.
A lot of the east schools on the east start early. Burns Burns is similar, but it's a little different. I looked at that. It's a little different. Tule Lake does something similar with their fair as well. It's pretty popular. This is about a lot of
Well,
calendar.
all of California schools start
Yeah,
early.
yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
they do.
but,
So,
Paisley starts before the county fair too.
yeah.
oh, when does Paisley start?
It's right about just a week before. I don't know when they do their stuff.
Well-
They do their in-service or, well, it's Bill Works. Bill Works can tell me.
I'm not sure. I think Paisley's. I'm not sure that's because they're 4 days. They go less days.
Yeah.
I don't know if they start that early or not.
Yeah.
But
I know, they do start at least the week before we do.
North Lake does not. North Lake always, kicks in.
yeah. So that's one option. Option 2 is basically this year's calendar, just next year. Full 2 weeks. We would start normal time. Would put us out for last day of kids the 14th, last day of teachers the 15th. Graduate on the 9th. So it's just basically this year's calendar. And then draft 3. This one is starting at the normal time, starting on that first Tuesday after fair with the orientation, whatever that would look like. And then the first kind of difference, if you go to Thanksgiving, we would have to come back and go back to being a half day that Wednesday of Thanksgiving for this one. And then if you go to Christmas, that half day would happen on the 21st, and it'd be a short Christmas. But that's to accommodate getting out a little earlier. So it's kind of all three extremes. This one would get us out, last day for kids the 7th, last day for teachers the 8th, graduate the 2nd. So,
What kind of feedback have you gotten?
well, Ruth Ann sent an email out to all the staff, and it was surprisingly close.
It was. For a while, it was neck and neck between the early start and the normal start with the shorter Christmas, so the
Draft 1 and
third.
3.
Yeah, but then draft 3 with the short Christmas out on June 8th, pulled away. There were 18 who liked that one and 10 who liked the early start. And there were only just a handful of people who liked the long Christmas. So,
I personally like long spring break. No, whatever one it was,
Draft
that,
one.
where the conferences are right
Oh,
before.
with that early, yeah.
Cause that's gonna, everybody's gonna be there Wednesday night.
So is classified staff, are they surveyed too, guys?
They were all a part
They're all
of
there.
that.
Does look nice on paper.
Yeah, I think that they all have their pros and their cons. It's kind of, it's 1 year when you go a short Christmas to get out a little early, and it seems like there's a lot of issues with the short Christmas, and then so you extend that Christmas like you did this year, and then it puts us back. It's kind of, you got to give where there's give and take, you know. But I think there's 3 viable options there.
Ruth Ann, how much feedback did you get? I mean, do you think 10% of the people?
I heard, so
20%?
I sent it to all certified, all classified, and I heard from 35 people. So,
Out of about 100.
Out of about 100.
yeah, so you know, people who had a strong feeling looked at it and they were, you know, they loved one, hated one another. So then you hear from them. And I sent a second email saying, you know, okay, I really need to hear from you, and I got a few more. So I think we've probably heard from who we're gonna hear from. And so, you know,
And it was draft 3 by 8 votes.
But I think that's good feedback, you know, that there's, and don't get me wrong, there were some people with the early start who wrote a whole bunch, not in support. And so I think, you know, you're gonna hear from the people who have really strong feelings opposed to it, but then there were other people who really, really like the June get out date then. Some people really want a long summer. And so getting out June 1st is really attractive. So, I don't know. I do think it was, you know, interesting. Mr. Hamilton would come down, have you heard more? I'm like, they're neck and neck. And we were really surprised because I think the general thought is nobody's gonna go for the early start. And then when it's really that close, that kind of puts a
The
different
early
spin
start
on it.
one is, the problem is it's such a change from
Yeah,
our historic
absolutely.
start date that it's like, either someone's
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, I can buy into that, or heck no, that just won't work.
Right,
Will it work? Sure, I think there's some merit to it. It gives
Yeah.
you a lot of freedom throughout the year, because we've always been bound to when fair
yeah,
occurs, that it starts our school year.
yeah,
One thing I've always dreaded about school starting after fair was the fact that it all happens so fast. It's kind of like summer's going along and all of a sudden, boom, 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 and school starts. If school started a little earlier, it might take some of that pressure off,
yeah,
but also it would add some pressure. I mean, so I can see there's give and take. That one would be the hardest one, I think would be the most divided. And so it would probably take more teasing out some of the details to get a true feeling. The other two, it's just kind of, we go through that every year. It's,
Where
it's
does
the,
Christmas
where do
fall?
you compress and where do you put the end of the school year? And so you push it out and go into June, or do you contract it and shorten your Christmas? And
Yeah.
it's just playing with, and that's where my frustrations over the years has been the fact that we have to make the decision on that, but it affects the staff the most. Tell us what you want. I mean, and if it doesn't work, give us something that we can approve. I hate to approve a calendar that I don't have any buy-in or feedback on, so, I mean, I rely on the input that you give us the most, because it's like, that's what we want, that's what I wanna base my decision on.
I think some of the feedback I've gotten just informally, just chatting with people about the early ones, some of the concerns about that are, for one, any on-staff coaches are gonna have difficulty having doubles, which is, that's an issue, I mean, because that's in-service week. First day of practice is the 14th, that's when we start
I was
in-service.
gonna ask about.
So kids are back then, you know, because they're playing sports. That was one kind of concern. Another one was the gap where you start for 7 days and then you shut down, and then you come back, and some teachers feel that you almost have to start over again. So that was a kind of another concern. Those were kind of the two main ones that I got.
But that last issue, the first person I heard from was a first grade teacher, and she voted for the early start, and she didn't say anything about when my first graders are gonna start for 7 days and I'm gonna lose everything. And so, she would know better than I about first grade, so I just, I don't know.
Well, okay, so early start, school starts on the first day practice.
No, in-service
In
does.
service.
Oh, in service.
School would start the second week of practice, the 21st.
Oh, the green,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So the kids are gonna practice that first week, and the concern is that your coaches that are also in service are gonna have a hard time doing daily doubles.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can only have, what, 3 days of daily doubles?
Yeah, you can only
that
go every
first-
other day. So it's not, it's a concern, but it's not a, you know.
There's a little factor that we really didn't talk about a whole lot when we did this, and I really appreciate Jesse putting this together, because I would have my hands full with some other things, and he grabbed it and ran with it. But that, when we don't get out until the middle of June, our summer workforce, our kids, everybody's just waiting for those kids to get out. And we lose them anyway to sports practices mid-August. And if they went back to school at the same time that they were starting school and got them out a little earlier, your employers in the community gain 2 or 3 weeks of a workforce. That's not our total consideration, but it's a little thing that somebody had talked to me about.
So how productive are the days immediately following the orientation day?
When school starts.
Yeah, I mean, is that more, you have the orientation day more for the middle school. The high school comes in and gets their stuff in the locker. I guess my thoughts are that maybe the first couple days is really the orientation, when everybody's in the classroom and here's our rules, here's what I expect, and it takes a little bit to get into the actual curriculum and teaching.
Yes and no. I mean, yes, on the first couple days, rules, expectations, I'm setting up their notebook. But, since I get kids on our normal start on Wednesday, Thursday, we're doing that. By Friday, I've given them an assignment. We're doing something. And so if we started early start, school starts on Monday the 21st, and I have 5 full days. So I do my orientation, I get my notebook set up, I start. I mean, I would be tempted to start them with vocab. Hi, it's good to see you.
So I guess what
Here's,
I'm asking is, what about doing orientation on the 28th? And running a couple days, 28th, 29th, 28th, 29th, 30th? And
Except
then
for-
breaking off and coming back, and when you hit school again on the 5th or 6th, it's, here we got assignments, and here's the things we're doing.
So you're saying move in service to the 21st?
You'd only have 2 days of school, cause
Yeah.
weigh-in's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Fair.
Thursday.
Oh, is it
Yeah, it's
Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday. I mean, you could run 3 days, but I guess you could take those days and, instead of a half day, my guess is a half day before Thanksgiving isn't very productive.
But on this calendar,
A half day before Christmas break isn't very productive.
Well, on that calendar, there isn't a half day for Thanksgiving.
Well, what I'm getting at is, I like calendar number 3 personally.
Okay.
But how do you find a balance with the shorter Christmas and some of these unproductive half days? Can you have a productive day before the fair?
if you
in the
only,
orientation sort
if
of
you're
thing.
that week of the fair, it will not be productive. It won't. If you're going the week before that and the kids have a week and then a couple days before fair, that's gonna be productive. But if
But-
you're just the Monday and Tuesday before fair,
But
He's
that's
trying
an
to
orientation
limit-
day, which isn't productive anyways, and the next, you said the next couple days is kind of the classroom rules and setting up folders and
I would
binders
disagree at
and-
the elementary level though.
Yeah.
We do a rotation starting the first day of school, we have orientation day where they bring their stuff, and we have a general parent meeting, to get some Title I things done. Kids put things in their classroom, meet their teacher, figure out where they're going. And then the first day of school, we spend 1 hour and we do a rotation to do rules and go. And we're holding math classes and testing and.
yeah,
we
orientation doesn't take me that long. I mean,
We normally wouldn't start testing until, if we start on a Wednesday, with full classes, we would start testing that Monday. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, those kids would be having regular school, other than that hour. They're, you know, that's why we originally gave up that Tuesday, so that they do orientation day, get some sleep, and then move on from there. So that's just my 2 cents on the elementary end.
My next question is why does the last day for teachers have to be on a Friday?
It doesn't.
It doesn't?
Okay, each calendar has that, so, you know, what if the school ran up to a Friday and the teachers came back on Monday? Or school ran till Tuesday and teachers came back on Wednesday? You know, I mean, how do you, I mean, I understand where you came up with these ideas.
part of
but-
it is like on the calendar that has, did you fix
I
that?
think part of it is
Or
they
was
can
it
decide
still-
how many
oh,
days they have.
Well, I understand that, but if we extend on the back end a day or two versus going all the way to the
Sure.
15th, and we free up a day for these half days and.
So add that
They
in
can-
draft 3, you think, or something, what you're saying?
Pardon?
Rather than draft 3, is that what you're saying?
Just suggestions, I mean,
We've tried to get rid of any of the half days that were unproductive, because we haven't had one for Christmas for a while, and we got rid of Thanksgiving last year, and it worked really well to not have it.
but draft 3 has a half day of Thanksgiving
Put
and
back
Christmas.
into it.
And I guess that's where I was getting at, how do you
Oh, okay.
cut a day out
Oh,
here
and
or
add it-
there
add it.
to
Yeah.
make
And didn't you put
those.
that in there because we were
Yeah.
gonna do smarter balance testing?
But we have,
Start
you know,
with
we
three.
have done,
licensed
I've been here many years, and we've done many times, where we're taking the kids up to Friday, and we have brought them back on Monday.
And I think one of the reasonings in the half day, putting that half day back in was, one of the ideas was, lots of people travel if you have that Wednesday, and it isn't hugely productive kid-wise. But we had planned to keep staff all day, so that we could get smarter balance testing, training done in the.
We were gonna do that on the Christmas
Oh,
half
gotcha.
day.
December.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
I knew it was one of them.
Well, but, I mean, yeah, it's just, there's so many ways to look at it, like, where do you compress it, where do you know? and
Yeah,
I'm with you, I
Feedback's
know
not
that
good.
feedback that I get is that's not the most attractive thing, is to have to come back for a day. So that's the main, the main reason, the feedback that we've gotten, but you definitely could do that to get rid of a half day, for sure. And I think too, we're over I mean, our hours are pretty solid, and,
Well, it's just like when we took the snow day, I thought, oh my goodness, I better fly into high gear here and make sure we have plenty of days in case we need more snow days. And I think I handed the hours thing to a bunch of you here, maybe all of you didn't get it, but we were, you know, way over on our days, we were really in good shape. You know, so.
I guess that, the only thing I would suggest is, you know, is it possible to add another day to Christmas, on the front end of Christmas? Just, you know, it's starting to get right up to the day of,
I know, yeah.
you know, or Thanksgiving. So I got another question for you. PDUs. Can teachers only get PDUs through the school, or is that something?
No.
No, through the school, or they, you know, for every hour of seat time is one PDU. At college, they take college courses, one college credit is 20 PDUs. So if they take three, you know, if they take a 3-credit college course, that's 60 PDUs. And that pretty much applies to our folks that are off getting their master's degrees or their professional development program, or professional program to get their certification. State engineering, so anyway, those are the 2 ways.
Okay. So I went here last year, and I'm gonna go here again this year, and I see Jesse, I'm assuming it was you, provided a bunch of wonderful information from comparing Wednesdays and Fridays.
Actually, that was me.
Oh, well, sorry, I'll give you the credit.
This is for last year.
Okay, so I guess just from the very nature of this Friday, there's only 6 days versus Wednesday, 20 days of no activity conflicts. And I guess to me, we can see that, we can take that two different ways and say that, well, that's, 14 more days on a Wednesday versus a Friday that teachers won't be impacted and won't miss that professional development. But you could also argue that that's 14 more days that students that are athletes that are part of those activities will have less school that they're missing. I think it just depends on how you wanna look at that. And I guess you have 15 staff that are coaches, most for multiple sports per year. So those staff are getting paid an extra stipend, most of them, to coach. So should we, and they'd be missing that professional development on those days because of the activities. So should we be also accommodating them from the standpoint of having it on Wednesday versus Friday, or there's other ways that they can get those professional development units?
Well, yeah, there are other ways they can get professional development units, but I think the long and short of it is we as staff, time spent with them as far as what we're trying to do with the content of what we're trying to get out to all the staff. The big consideration at the high school is avid, as far as trying to get, meaningful professional development hours out to all the staff in an equal manner, in an equal amount of time, and bringing all the staff together within that frame of mind. I think down at ADK in Fremont, it's been a number of things. We did poverty this year, we've done PBIS, we've done RTI, and it's basically just having them there to be a part of the instruction and experience, more than it is, yes, the PDU is a part of it, but it's more having everybody together on the same page as a team to move forward in advancing these things that we really want to do to improve our buildings.
Well, the biggest, I think the most, thing that goes unnoticed the most, it wasn't mentioned, is the time to collaborate with in their departments and with their peers and figure out have those department level meetings and those professional learning communities that are, I know when I was teaching, were very, very valuable to me. It wasn't about a PDU, it was about getting with your colleagues and digging through curriculum and putting together vertical and horizontal alignment within your curriculum and things like that. It goes a lot deeper than just getting that PDU, I think, for most teachers.
I think it's all said and done at the end of the day. It's just building quality instruction, building our programs up to a quality level. So.
I hadn't really ever considered the PDUs, to be honest with you, just as a part of it when I'm planning my professional development. Happy to award PDUs, but I don't base it on what people need or don't need. That's a part of their professional licensure responsibilities. I want to provide meaningful professional development that is good for all staff. So I'd really like them all to be there to benefit from that. And we all wear a lot of hats, so it's difficult as it is to do it on a Wednesday. For me, let alone, put it on that Friday where we have even more propensity to travel, I guess. But it's really valuable. My teachers unanimously had feedback to within, and they unanimously wanted to keep the Wednesday,
I guess there's
the early release even versus late start or anything
their
else.
thing too, I'll throw out, the public has now had about a year and a half to adjust to it. What are you getting any kind of feedback from the public? As far as getting used to it, or being totally against it, or, I don't know, can you give me any?
They're used to it, and it gives teachers the opportunity when we don't start lots of our professional development until 2:00, 2:15, because we're released at 1:30, and that half hour, we still run homework club during that time, so we do extend that day a little bit for those kiddos to continue their homework services, and then we start our professional development. Parents have adjusted. We don't have many issues as far as buses and kiddos not being home, or parents forgetting to pick up kids. It really runs pretty smoothly for us. It took a little while, though, to get everybody trained That's why I'm a little bit hesitant to try and move that.
In my
So from a
side,
community standpoint, I've never heard a positive part of it being on Wednesday.
Okay.
Everybody has always said, why is it on Wednesday? Why isn't it on Friday? And I feel like this is why I'm here, is because of the community out there.
Sure. But
And
is the
so-
community, are they all starting their vacation, their weekend at 2 o'clock on Friday? I mean, don't they have jobs that go till 5 or 6? I mean, why Friday? Why, I mean, everybody I know has an 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job. Are they, I mean, don't they still have to find daycare for their kids for a few hours on Friday? Or I mean, are all of them taking every Friday off? Why do they want it Friday?
I do see a fair amount of people at 2 o'clock on Friday that are, I don't know how they work, don't ask me, but
I think
I've noticed that
there's-
Safeway is very full on Friday afternoon, well before 5.
I think there's a lot of possibilities for people to go out of town or to do something on a Friday or to travel to watch a ball game or whatever it may be. You know, not that they can't do it now, it's just, it's taking a child out of school to do that versus waiting for the entire day to be done. Regardless, again, the same as you guys sitting here saying that you people have adjusted and you don't hear any negative, I can sit here and say, well, that's the only thing I've heard about Wednesdays is that why in the hell is it Wednesday and not on a Friday? And it just, that's why I continue to bring this up, is because that's what I hear out there, and wanna make sure that, you know, we're considering that when we're looking at the schedule.
Right.
Because people really wonder about it.
And those are the biggest reasons, is to go out of town. What's the, I mean, if you could give us like the top 3 reasons, maybe, I guess, for some clarification, so I'm clear.
Well, I
Go.
think when you, living here, as we all know, we're on the
Yeah,
end
my
of the
socks.
road, and you can travel, you gotta drive, it's a
Right.
trip, and so if you can start that travel a little bit earlier,
Earlier, okay.
you know, versus waiting until school's out and whatever else. You know, I think you still have the same benefits of appointments that you do on Wednesdays. I don't think that makes a difference. I don't know, I think it's just something for folks to,
But it's mostly travel.
to feel like their weekend is extended versus just a lost hour in the middle of the week.
But who is it a lost hour for? Because for us, it's a gained hour, because we get to do what we need to do professionally to be better at our job. That's the whole point of all of this, is that so that teachers, so that staff can have staff meetings, so that we can have professional development, and Wednesday fits that. We're not a babysitting service, and so I think it's wonderful. I think we have to take into account at the elementary where kids are going and how they're going there. But we are not a babysitting service. And so if on Wednesday works because there are the least amount of conflicts for the professionals that the teachers and the staff are, that's when it is. In my opinion, that's what it should be, the #1 factor of all of this. Because if we don't do early release Wednesdays to do our professional development, we have to have staff meetings after school. When I first started, that's when they were, 3 o'clock. And half an hour is not enough time to go over everything we need to go over. And so the meetings go long. People have things that they're doing after their job. And so you don't have enough time to go over everything. Professional development days were either half day or a full day. And you go to it and then you don't come back and use it because class started and you had no time to think about what you were gonna do or how you were gonna plan it. Nothing. Now, we do, because we have them every week or once a month. And we see how it's done, and then we can go and apply it. It's much more effective. That's the whole point of these. And so if we don't have these early release Wednesdays, now we have to go back to the calendar and add in those days.
Well, it
And-
used to be full day on Friday, what, every 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, it's like every
Yeah.
6 weeks, and, you know, and living in that universe, yeah, we have very good professional development.
Right.
And we leave at the end of the day on Friday,
And that
and we
was
get
it.
busy back in our jobs again.
And right
We
now-
didn't discuss it ever again until we came together again 6 weeks later.
Right now, we have 175 contact days with students, full days. At the high school, what is it, 7 minutes taken off of every class, or 5? It's almost nothing, and I get to see them 175 days. If we have to add in the professional development is not as effective, and I lose 2 contact days.
The other thing that starts to happen with staff that we saw quite a bit before we changed this to Wednesdays is that we have those folks captive on Wednesdays. If we put those Fridays back in, we end up with lots of doctor's appointments on those Fridays because they don't have to have subs, because our teachers want to be in the classrooms. They don't want to miss student contact days like Ruth Ann's talking about. And so we would have people absent from those professional development days when they were full day Fridays because they needed to travel for doctor's appointments.
I just don't see where, that's not what I'm even mentioning. I'm saying, why is it an earlier release Wednesday, or why is it not an earlier release Friday
Right.
versus an earlier release
For
Wednesday?
the exact reason you're saying, people are going to be gone. If I know Friday afternoon it's a training, oh, it's an accreditation training, Jesse's got that, I need a doctor's appointment, you go. And so then you are missing out on professional development. When, if it's on Wednesday, that's the middle of the week, I'm gonna be here.
I think one of the biggest things too is, the professional development that we're doing is led by us. It's led by staff members who have been to these trainings, our avid stuff. And so, you got a football game on a Friday, but we're trying to organize some professional development. Well, who's gonna do the professional development? Cause I'm not gonna be able to, cause I'm gonna be setting up for a football game and dealing with football and getting officials and all that. Same thing on a Friday night basketball game. So, that's a big piece of it too.
For you guys.
We're doing homegrown professional development, and I can tell you, I was just at a school on an accreditation visit, and professional development and a consistent, effective plan is key in this accreditation process. And I was at a school that has, I think, good professional development, but they have 50,000 things at once. They're trying to do 8 different things, and they're doing them in these big blocks. And the feedback from parents, because we interview parents on those, staff, everyone there, the professional development is not effective because they're trying to do too much, 8 hours at a time. They do that, they're bored out of their minds, and they don't come back to it. We're coming back to it sometimes weekly, at a minimum monthly, with the avid stuff, with whatever it is that we're working on. So I guess if it was a Friday, we're gonna have to figure out, we're gonna have to hire folks to come in and either do game management or pay for professional development probably. Because there's just no,
I think the other piece that we missed too is the fact that we can peg that maybe there's 15 teachers that are coaches that we would lose on those Fridays, but there's probably another 15 or 20 that are parents, and they wanna be at the basketball game, so it's like, well, I'm not gonna stick around after school. I would be going to that game, so you lose even more on professional development Friday than you do midweek.
But I don't understand that argument, because we're paying them to be there to teach school. If they're not doing a partial day on a Friday, we're doing a full day on Friday, and they're there anyway. So that argument is invalid to me, because either way, they're there till whatever, 3:30.
I don't think you understand though the power of not having to fill out sub-plans and make sub-plans.
Well, I understand the power of managing an office, and that if I got work I gotta do on Friday, I don't get to go out of town.
Yes,
But if you have a CBA that you're bound by, we don't have the opportunity to say, no, you can't. We don't have that option. So if someone fills out a leave card and they have a doctor's appointment on a Friday, and they've chose that so that they don't have to try and find a sub, and they aren't putting me in a bind trying to find a sub to cover that class, those teachers will pick days that they don't have student contact days because they're dedicated to those students and wanna be there every day those students are there. And so, if they have sick leave left, and they have annual leave left, we're bound to give it to them.
And
There'd be lots of times I'd like to say, hey guys, no, we got stuff to do here. So
I don't know.
That's hard for me sometimes.
maybe it's a
So I wanna
personal
be there.
fault of mine and my managerial style, but I have a hard time with a staff member that gives me everything for every day of the week, 10 hours a day, wants to leave 2 hours early to go watch their son play basketball. I got a hard time saying no when they have the annual leave sitting there. So,
Well, and that was that's part of the culture of Lakeview. It's, we travel, you go to the game, and a lot of times that, their teachers and parents
Far.
that go.
And they're far, they're not
Right,
here.
they're not jaunts that you can't not miss. But then what you get back from those people is, we have very highly dedicated teachers here. I mean, outstanding staff that other schools don't enjoy, but part of that is the give and take. That's been my experience. And then they graduate, and then they, then they're not traveling anymore.
So I guess in defense of the Wednesdays, I've never had anybody complain to me. Maybe I'm unapproachable, I don't know. But nobody's complained that it's a horrible thing. I think the community's adapted to it. I know that our job is to balance community input with our faculty and staff. But if our faculty and staff feel that's the most productive day for them, and I get the most out of it, then I'd support the Wednesday.
And I think the one last thing is, one of the concerns when we did this was, what are we gonna do with kids on those days? At the high school anyways. And so, we've done some things, and it hasn't been perfect, but, the ESD has a grant going right now where we're able to, we got a tutor coming in that we're paying to come in and tutor kids during that time in the library. So, we got those things in place for kids where they're getting a benefit out of it too, those kids that need that extra help, they're in the library getting tutored. So we put some stuff in place to kind of alleviate some of those concerns that I know were very valid concerns when we started this program, so.
Well, it was kind of the argument that they would be supervised, so I hope they are.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a very structured, it's nice to be able to have a tutor that,
Right.
you're paying to come in and work with kids
So
for.
if they aren't in a tutor, where are they while we practice? Because sometimes practice doesn't start till 3:30, they're out at 2.
They're not, if they're in the building, they're supervised,
Supervised.
yeah,
If not, they're off campus.
yeah. Yeah, and we haven't had, we haven't had any, I think we anticipated to have some issues with that. And even when we had a gap here or there with something going on after school, we haven't had those problems, the kids will, we got good kids, and so it's nice to, be able to have that, where if you do have a gap, things aren't going awry, so.
We need a vote tonight?
No, I'd say we bring it to a first reading on the 27th. But we need more feedback from our staff as far as these 3 calendars go. The 35 or 37 out of 100, we need to reach
I don't
out.
think you're gonna get any more.
It's been
I
on
sent 2 emails out.
And we've
for
I've
3
asked.
weeks.
talked to staff and talked to
Yeah.
staff to please put their input
Okay.
if they had some.
I think very good.
Do you,
what you
so
do?
principals, do you have a preference?
Well,
I wanna make it conducive for community and staff,
yeah,
but the staff.
Well, but you're vested in this community though, from a fair standpoint also. What's going to happen if we start school before fair? Are we, I picture some,
Uproar?
yeah, I do.
It- There is some advantages in that way, that with that week off, I don't know if Jesse could speak to the football piece has always been controversial in having a game fair weekend. I don't know if that gives them some leeway to move things around, they've had enough practices, but
However, they can have it before.
it would have to still be
It'll
during
still
fair
be off the
weekend,
same
but you'd
day,
have
yeah.
you'd have some practices, you'd still have to coordinate that, but I don't have a strong feeling one way or another. I'm at the end of the fair deal. If I was still fitting 3 steers in the morning, I might have a different opinion. But I know it's a really busy time, and there's a lot of people that really enjoy fair, kids look forward to it, and people are pretty dang tired by the time they get done
Well,
with
and
it.
we have a lot of staff that are a part of that. I mean, that's
I think
parents. What do you think as an extension agent?
I think, like I said, community-wise, if we rolled it out in the right way, we could probably sell it. I think the day that people are most concerned about at school is the day after fair.
Yeah.
I think if you started early enough and then gave them, kind of like we have on that calendar, a period of time to do fair and recover for a day, and that's kind of why we implemented the kind of come back to school orientation day for those kids to kind of ease back in. That's kind of a recovery day. And so if you did start early, and you had a productive week, kind of got that laid out, then blocked that out where they went to fair, and they had a day after fair to kind of regroup. And it's kind of like, okay, guys, roll up your sleeves and get back to work. You could probably sell it, but it's the culture of the community that you have to change. I mean, it's so,
I agree.
it would be something that you're gonna get, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh yeah, we could buy into that, or you guys are just nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I would really prefer you did it next year.
I think we go with the majority and look at draft 3.
I agree. And I mean, that's what I would rely on, is the input of, and if 3 is leaning that direction, kick it back out one more time.
And if we're not gonna get any more feedback, then
Well, and
Thanksgiving holiday.
I'll tell you,
full day.
I agree with Dustin. The half days, if I could get rid of that half day Thanksgiving, we absolutely would. So, you know, if draft 3 is kind of what you guys want to focus on, I can take this and tweak it and see if we can figure out ways to get the number of days and hours we need without the half days. I think the half day at Christmas is going to be valuable because of the state assessment training. That's a good time for it, and we did it this year on an early release Wednesday, and it just wasn't enough time. It was just rushed. So Tara really felt strongly that we needed a half day for that, and I think the Christmas one would be very beneficial. The Thanksgiving one, if I could find a way to,
I think you can do away with the Thanksgiving and put it back to being a full day again. Would probably, I'd look at my, seat time instructional hours per ORS.
I've looked at it,
I think
we're over.
I think we're probably gonna be fine, because we're pretty well over anyway.
You know, the
Just
Christmas
go that
programs
route.
on that half day before Christmas, you know.
Well, you could take the after that, just having a full day off for the kids, but an in-service or whatever for teachers, for your training. That way you don't have kids
on the Christmas one.
That's
on
true.
both those half days,
Mhm.
22nd of November and the 21st of December.
would you get any attendance?
No, I'm saying no, oh, you mean by the teachers?
Yeah.
Well, they're thinking they're getting,
Huh?
The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is notorious for people being gone and travel.
Yeah.
so, but you've got a training set
Yeah,
on the
let's not-
half day is what.
There's some things we can look at. I'll
Let's, yeah, if you can adjust draft 3, I think that'd be great.
okay. I'll put some
Try to give us another day in Thanksgiving there.
maybe 3 options of draft 3 now.
Well, with the half.
3A, 3B.
Yeah.
You know, and there are 2 days that, that we haven't talked about that we could put somewhere, and that is the conference makeup days. We've always put those right by conferences, but is there anything that says we have to? I mean, because in November, we have conferences on the 8th and 9th, the 10th off. It's gonna be, for the little kids, a 4-day weekend already.
That 13th would be a day we could move pretty much anywhere.
You know, we could move
In
that
April.
one. The
In
one in
November.
April
November.
is maybe a little more set because it would be, on that Friday. But I don't know if,
Yeah.
You could move that November 13th for the teachers and use it as the 22nd.
Oh, just food for thought, when you're arranging the 3 drafts of number 3. I really like how it worked out this year for the parent conferences to be on Easter weekend. That was nice. I mean, I think that,
it was.
that's nice
But
for families.
Easter is
I don't-
I know, but
always
maybe you
a
can look
problem.
at, maybe there's some, who knows? 3A, 3C, I don't know. We'll just put it out there. That worked really nice this year.
I guess the other thing I'd mention is starting early though, I mean, we have a higher likelihood to having 90-degree weather in
Mhm.
August than we do in June.
Yeah.
Not that necessarily, I mean, we all know anything can happen
Yeah.
with snow.
It's true.
Yeah.
No, that's
But-
very true.
That's a good
I
point.
remember
Yeah.
asking.
But, the probability of having really nice weather in August is
Yeah.
a lot higher than in June.
Right.
Yeah,
Those buildings could be very unbearable then
Mhm.
versus
right.
being out, May 31st and having it rain for 2 weeks.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. It looks like to me draft 3 is probably the best answer. I'll tweak it, and bring it back.
Okay.
Okay, last one is the weight room supervisor. Did you know anything about what he was asking us?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah. We talked a little bit about it.
So,
What it is it's basically, we got a kid that really knows how to lift weights and knows what he's doing. And it was just another avenue to get our kids involved in the weight room if there wasn't somebody available to supervise.
Okay, so this would be my request in this, that he not lift, that he supervise. I saw him in the weight room the other day, he did fine,
Mhm.
but the boys that were in there were doing their own thing, and
Mhm.
there was also, another adult and a child, which I think that she was helping supervise the boys, but they were both working out.
Gotcha.
And so I feel like if that's what he's volunteering to do, that he needs to be supervising.
Absolutely.
And that would also include supervising the music that's being played. Whatever would be acceptable in announcements or in, a dance would be acceptable in the weight room, and it was probably my daughter's iPod that had it, but.
It was,
um,
it was. No, I'm just kidding, I don't know that.
I have no idea, but every once in a while, and then they'd like see my face and go, shut it off.
That's good to
They
know.
all were very, they did a great job, it wasn't, but we are a huge liability hanging out there in that weight room. And I don't know, did we ever rekey that? The weight room?
Is it just open?
I
How
do
does
not
it work?
know.
Are
Well,
there
is
times
it
or-
open as part of wellness
Has to
at
be
all, or
To
no?
employees.
No, just to.
Where we're
To
supposed-
employees.
And they have to get a key for it.
And they have to go through all the
The-
trainings, so.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the kids'
The
weight
kid weight room,
room, our,
Oh,
the
down the
athletes'
basement.
weight room.
I didn't, was
I
it
don't-
supposed to be rekeyed?
yeah, I don't know that it.
No,
was
we've
supposed
talked
to-
about rekeying things, but I would like to maybe have some control about.
That's a
who
big
can get in
conversation,
there.
we need to rekey.
Well, we'd like to have control in the front door of the gym too, but,
Top of
Yeah.
the work session.
I
Well-
mean, that's not even an option until we get some numbers, which Jesse and I are working on those numbers, to rekey the whole school so that we
Right, right,
can get, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
But if we're gonna ask Dylan to volunteer to be a supervisor, then we need to come alongside him and control who can get in there. Because if he's responsible and then someone comes in afterward and we don't know who that was and something happens, there's damage or there's theft.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's locked, when he
There's-
leaves, it's locked, and if, I
There's
mean,
Right, I
regulation
know, but
on
we
the
don't-
keys though. I have a key for the weight room, it's only in the weight room. And I have a key to the front door to the DMS. But to get that key, it's checked out to me
Yeah.
with the number through
Emma's
Emma.
doing it.
Right.
And
We've
so
gotten
I have to turn that in, so it's, I mean, so she has a master
Yeah.
list. I mean, are there some keys probably floating around out there? Yeah, you're never gonna police
I
them
think-
all, but the
I
majority of
think there are
people,
keys
it's,
floating around.
there's a we've made huge gains in the key issue. We have issues with keys, there's no doubt. And we've made huge gains, cause Emma is a rock star and is on people like a hawk, making sure they're checking them out and checking them back in. But that doesn't matter with the 2,000 other keys we have out there already, so that's why we've had so many conversations about rekeying things, because it's an issue.
but that's a facility key.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be big, so in my mind, that's a facility adjustment,
And-
which is gonna be
Yeah.
a big dollar, it's like a roof.
And
Well, I'm
Maybe
just
a
in
little
our-
less than a roof.
the weight room.
our folks
We
know,
just did the weight room.
assessment. or
I understand what you're saying, I'm just saying if we're gonna do one, we
Facilities.
might as well do the whole shebang.
Well,
That's what I'm getting at, because we've had those conversations for the upcoming year on budget wise
You mean just-
anyway.
just
to
the weight
avoid
room
that-
door, to avoid the overuse and to protect someone we're asking now to be a supervisor. That's, so our coaches technically take their kids there and supervise. They don't always, I'm sure, nothing's happened, so I'm not saying, but I would like to make sure going forward that nothing does.
I don't understand overuse in a weight room.
No, but our children, but there's lots of people that visit there and use it that are not students, are not employees,
Yeah.
in the weight room,
yes,
Mhm.
yes,
There's some.
a lot.
it's
So-
no different in the gym, it's an issue, there is no
Yeah.
doubt, it's,
But we're saying it's rampant, I mean, you have it in all your facilities.
yeah.
The community has total access to our buildings.
Shannon, is it gonna be on
So-
our facilities list of all the money of facilities?
When we do
Can't
our
think
wish
of a
list.
Big list,
Something.
the list.
Right, exactly, that's
It's
what.
going on that list.
I
Yeah,
think,
we are looking at that as
To your-
part of, but keep in mind, sorry Jesse, but we are going to have to categorize what we can afford to do and what is the
Priority-wise,
most
right.
important.
Got it.
Could be that gym roof, it's creeping to the top, that may take all I've got. So the keys, we might have to just adjust by and do something different, but yes, we have a master list that we go by every year.
It's on the list.
to your point, I think what, correct me, but I think what you're saying is, it's one door, it's an area where you can get hurt pretty easily. We could change that one lock and kind of get that piece under control and just have our staff and our coaches have access to it
And our-
and open it for kids.
K through 12.
I gotcha.
That's, especially if we're asking someone to volunteer to supervise it. I mean, that's for his benefit.
No, so how the wellness works is, so we check out wellness keys to our staff. There's a weight room key inside the wellness room. So there's one key that if somebody wants to go down and use the school weight room, that they can from there.
Right.
That's employees.
And their spouses,
Mhm.
and that's it.
And we have liability waivers and
Right.
proof of insurance
Yeah.
on each one of
Yeah.
those.
But yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
So that would be my only.
And I can get with you, and if it's one doorknob, I mean, Joe can, I can have him, that can be done in 5 minutes if we have one.
Okay, that's all I wanted to throw out there, to make sure that he can have a chance to
Sure.
succeed.
Okay.
Okay, now you need to come back and approve him.
Oh, right, okay, so we're back into regular session. Can I have a motion to approve him as our voluntary weight room supervisor?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Thank you, board, appreciate it.
Way better.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks, you guys.
Is that up to 1.3 or something?
Very early on, this
From 15
Oh, the adjournment?
We thought about throwing that out there for the amendment, but we ended up
shut down.